Good afternoon and welcome. We're so glad that you're joining us today for a forum that we've very much been looking forward to on stem cell research, the new frontier. Craig Ruff, who is co-chair of the Wolverine Caucus, is going to introduce our illustrious speakers this morning. I know that you're in for a treat and an informational opportunity here on stem cell research, and this is a very timely forum because you might have seen on TV6 just a couple of days ago that the FDA has recently approved first clinical trials in some areas. In fact, our speakers have the articles with them today, so this forum is in good timing. Again, welcome, and here's Craig Ruff.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, if you haven't signed up for future Wolverine caucuses, please do so at the back. We want to keep you notified, and sometimes we have quite a number of newcomers, and we want to make sure that regardless of what the topic and the speakers are, normally people don't have a hard time hearing me, but I want our speakers to be happy. That one's deader than a doornail.
No, that's my microphone. That's a wireless.
Oh, that you need.
That needs to go back up there.
Forgive me as we get our technical problems resolved. Let's see if this helps.
That wireless just goes to my camera.
Okay.
The other one you were tapping on is the PA system. It needs to be turned up. It's
Okay.
working. It just needs to be turned up. I don't know where that is.
And I should alert our speakers that when you get into Q&A, if you would kind of repeat the question so that our camera operator and sound operator can pick it up. Much better? Okay, welcome. We're missing a number of legislators and legislative staffers. There's a reason for that. I won't share that reason with you because you're already too knowledgeable. As Veronica alluded to, we have a topic that certainly in a fall election gripped the public attention of Michigan. It was very controversial about a constitutional change in our state that would permit, under some circumstances, and with some exceptions, stem cell research that would enable University of Michigan and other institutions in our state to do what very prominent faculty have been recruited to our great state to in fact do. We have two just outstanding minds and intellects at the University of Michigan with us today. Jack Mosher, who I've seen in action once, who is a research scientist at the university. I think he was recruited by Dr. Morrison, sort of. And Dr. Morrison is one of the nation, if not the world's, foremost researchers in the field of stem cell. Ed Goldman is a Renaissance man. He writes, he teaches, probably plays sports, if not watches them, and is both associated with the School of Medicine and the School of Public Health. And has kind of an emphasis, if you will, upon medical ethics, which pertains very much to the topic of stem cell. So with no further ado, Ed, you're going to come up first. Very good. Thank you.
So thank you for inviting me. This is a very important and valuable forum, and we're just delighted to be here. We have lots to tell you and not a lot of time, and we want to leave plenty of time for question and discussion. There are only two areas that we're not going to cover today. One is healthcare reform, and the other is the Michigan budget. So. What I'm going to do is set the stage on some of the legal background, and then Jack actually gets to do the good stuff about the science in this area. You know that the current state of Michigan law has really a fairly minor change from old Michigan law for all the hoopla and everything that went on. What the voters did in passing Proposition 2 was to allow stem cell research to occur that would involve damaging or destroying an embryo. Now, these are only embryos that would not be needed for reproductive purposes, that were created for reproductive purposes, that are voluntarily donated without coercion or without payment by people who no longer want them. Prior to Proposition 2, if people had created embryos through in vitro fertilization and no longer wanted them for reproduction, the only thing that could happen is they could be destroyed. Now, they can be destroyed or donated for research. Much of the research that you will hear about today does not actually involve the destruction of an embryo. It uses pre-existing lines. So we have to be a little bit careful scientifically when we talk about these areas, and Jack will talk to you a little bit more about that. The Michigan law doesn't allow us to do wild and crazy things. We are not going to be cloning people. I was at a seminar in Flint last night, and one member of the audience said, well, if you have these embryos, are you going to pick out the best ones and, you know, create a new master race? It's a perfectly legitimate question, and it's what people are concerned about. No, we're not going to be doing that. Cloning is illegal. It was illegal. It will continue to be illegal. Nobody is thinking about creating human beings with this material. Equally, nobody is thinking about creating animal-human hybrids. As much as your children like Harry Potter, we are not going to create winged horses from this material. We are not going to be doing what is called germline research, where we actually change the sperm or the egg so that a new human being gets created in that way. But what Proposition 2 did, it did on two levels. One was the symbolic level, and one was the actual level. The actual level let us compete on a level playing field with states like California and Wisconsin and New York and New Jersey and other states where scientists can do research, including derivation of new cell lines. The symbolic level is that people understand that Michigan is willing to let this kind of research go forward. So that if Jack is trying to recruit someone for his lab, they don't say, oh, Michigan, isn't that one of those backward states? They say, oh, Michigan, I can do the kind of research I want to do there. You can't imagine how important that is when we're trying to recruit the best and the brightest students to come into our programs. So the symbolic value of this is very, very important. Being able to compete on a level playing field is all we want. Give us a level playing field, we've got the scientists, we can compete for grants, and you'll hear more about that. The current state of law, both state and federal, is important. Under federal law, under the Dickey-Wickert Amendment, the federal government will not pay for derivation of new lines. That has to be financed privately. The federal government will, as a result of what President Obama did March 9 of 2009, pay for more research than it has paid for in the past 8 years. And that's important because the primary funding source for research is still the federal government. So NIH will now fund some new stem cell research. As of September 21st, the National Institute of Health established a panel to decide which human embryonic stem cell lines derived in the past 8 years should be approved for use in NIH-funded research. So this is a very timely topic. This happened 2 days ago, and we are seeing those kind of advancements almost on a daily basis. One of the questions that always gets raised is, So what are you wild and crazy scientists and ethicist types doing